if you are new to gCADPlus, it's relatively easy to lose your way. Let's take an example. If I right-click on the desktop here and pick Zoom Extents, suddenly we're way out here on the right-hand side, and if I select that symbol over there, it's a rose and veggie garden symbol. I won't try panning the drawing. That does work. Sometimes there's a problem in panning the drawing. There's certainly a problem for me trying to zoom in, so I'll zoom a window around this vegetable patch, and then I'll use the distance command to go from there to there. And if you shift the decimal places 6 points, that is 240 metres long. That's an enormous vegetable patch, and I think that's been inserted with the wrong scale factor. It's been inserted with a scale factor of 3000 if you look over here in the properties box. So I think that's certainly an error. Now, it's a block, so it sits in the drawing. We can bring it in at a later time if we need to. So let's now erase it. And remember, if we selected Zoom Extents before, all we saw was that vegetable garden. So let's Zoom Extents, nothing happens. If we go View and Regen, the whole drawing database, and then Zoom Extents, this time we do see the drawing, the design, but there must be something else up into this zone through here, and there is a rectangle that's way off beam, so we'll be brave and erase it. Now we'll Zoom Extents, probably need another View and Regen, Zoom Extents again. Finally, the drawing is starting to behave itself. If we now switch to a layout called All Layers, and we remember a layout has a floating viewport. Also remember that the switches in the status line apply differently. If we're back in the model, snap is not on, but if we go to this layout, snap is on. That can make life very difficult, especially if the snap settings are set rather high. So if our grid is still a 1 unit grid, so that's probably not going to give us any difficulty. But I don't need the grid on at the moment. I certainly don't need the snap on. I digress just a little. I'm going to select the floating viewport, and you can see its colour is set to 255. I'm going to change that back to by layer so that I can, and then I'll unselect all so that I can see the floating viewport. And I can't, in fact, so it must be sitting right on the edge. It's on layer 0, colour is by layer. Now I'll just check. Oh, the line weight here is massive for 0. The colour is set to foreground, so we should be able to see that viewport. We can select it. I think I need to bring it just in a little bit, then unselect all, and now I can see it. That's just to help me pick it. gCADPlus gives you control over what you see in a floating viewport. So I can select the viewport now quite easily, right click and say Viewport Layers, and that gives you this little list here. I'll just try widening that a bit and move it up, and I'll stretch it down like so. You can see all the layers in this drawing, and there are quite a large number of them. Now it's a little bit difficult to distinguish here, but some of these layers are turned on and some are turned off. So what I'm going to do is, so layer 0 here is turned off in this particular layer, so I can click them on. I'm not sure, so I'm just going through them all and putting them all on. The little icon, and we do need to make it larger, changes from a yellow colour to a blue colour. The corner just changes. So if I come down through here, I'm working my way down now, and there's a layer called North that was off. That's the current layer, so I'll say keep it on. So, and I'm just clicking my way through. I'm not sure if, and I'll just try it now, not tried this, if we select all of those and OK, yes, they all go on at once. Now, as soon as that happens, I'm in a degree of difficulty. I'll unselect all, because I now want to do my preview. And so you activate the viewport now. So we're back into model space, and that looks fine. So display on the layout, but when I go display it on the layout, I'm in trouble. Now you can just, to get the standard viewport back, so there's quite a big problem. Let me zoom extents, and I'll regen, and trying to see what has happened here. We're just not seeing the entire drawing. So zoom extents, there's not a problem with this area, I don't think. I'm just checking to make sure that there's nothing way outside here. So we'll go back into our layout and we'll zoom extents here, and that looks okay. And I'll zoom extents again. Yes, I can't see a problem at all. I can just move that around and reposition that preview and display it on the layout. So for some reason inside this floating viewport the whole drawing is not being displayed. Now is that have I made an error in our viewport layers? No, they all look to be on, other than a layer called north. So let's just see if we can make layer north. It's currently the active layer. So we'll see if we can make layer 0 there. So selected layer cannot be made current, foreign layers cannot be made current. Well, somehow we've lost our way and there's a serious problem here. Let's dive into our blocks layer and let's get rid of this funny block here, because that might well be causing some grief. So we'll delete it, and in doing it we'll delete all unused blocks. And there were 42 unused blocks in the drawing. Now zoom extents, double clicking here, hasn't made any difference at all. Display on the layout, and there's definitely a problem with this layout. Let's just have a look at the survey layout. Get in here. Ooh, there's the preview, so let me zoom extents here. That looked okay, but let me go back to this one and go zoom extents. You may be able to see there's the sheet, but there's something else in this drawing. Where is it? Let's again select. Looks like, there's something there. I'm going to assume that they're not needed. They're now selected, and so I'm going to erase those scale bars. Now let's zoom extents again. We're still in a degree of difficulty here. Maybe we haven't removed all of them. I'll view and regen. But what I am going to do is go to the blocks editor and just see if we can now delete them, and we can delete at least one of them. The 100 metre scale bar can be deleted. So we'll delete all unused blocks. Again, we're getting rid of quite a lot, and we'll save, and let's zoom extents. This time that survey's layout is behaving normally. Let's turn off the snap and grid because we don't need those at the moment, and we'll click in here. Again, it's not displaying what I want it to display, and I'll display on the layout again. So there must be some layers turned off. So let's go to Viewport Layers. Yes, there are a lot of layers turned off, so we'll turn that one on. Now we know we can hold that shift key down and go OK, and that hasn't helped at all. We need to change our colour. Colour should be okay. It's on a layer called Plant Schedule. By the way, the line type's dashed, the current line type's dashed. That should be changed to continuous. So let's have a look at this Plant Schedule layer. Plant Schedule layer is in fact turned on. There's a tall tree layer turned off, so let's just turn that one on, not the think that will have any influence. And I'll go to Viewport Layers again. In theory, these are all on. So why are we seeing difficulty? And now all layers have been turned off. So we need to come in here and say all use layers on. And they are. So I'm going to save the drawing again. I'm going to close the drawing. And I'm going to open the drawing again and see what we've got. And we still have lost our plan. Now it comes back with a regen. All layers here. Let's do a double click there. Display that on the layout. Still got a problem with that one. And we still have a problem with this one. In this survey layout, if we have a crossing box and pick, you can see we've got two viewports on this layout. So let's remove one viewport, and here's another. So I'll just make absolutely sure that we've got rid of those viewports. Yes, we have just one viewport now. It's on a layer called Plant Schedule, and I'll change that. Probably safer to bring that back to layer 0. So now if we double click in there and then display that on the layout, we still haven't fixed the problem. Our problem must be caused by the layout. Let's make a new layout. Format, layout, new, and most of these are A3. So we'll make a new layout, make it A3. And we'll make it landscape and OK it. And when we do that, we'll go to layout 1, everything appears completely normal. So I still haven't solved the problem, but we're aware that it's to do with the two layouts, this one and this one. Tree removal's fine, that one's fine. And as we work through, so we've got two Viewport layers with some problems. And in my view, it's probably quicker to make a new viewport and get rid of those entirely. That might prove difficult if there's something that's been inserted onto these viewport layers in layout space that we can't see at the moment. Well, as always, the problem's relatively easily fixed. Just select the viewport, like so, right click and go to Viewport Layers, and then just pick the very first, and then come down to the bottom there, and OK that. And do it again. I'll regen and select all, select again, Viewport Layers, the whole lot, and OK. And there we are. Both viewports now show all the layers that we want. So the problem was a problem of viewport layers.